to order. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Commissioner French, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We'll go on to roll call. Ms. Brewer?
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner French,
Present.
Chair Martos.
Here. And for the record, Commissioners Johnson and Israelite are not here this evening. So we'll move on to approval of minutes. And this is just for the October 9th minutes. Hope you all had a chance to review them and send any corrections to Ms. Brewer. I found one thing, and there I see the correction. Thank you very much. Was there anything else? Yep, you were absent that night. That was the addition that I requested. Yeah, just, you weren't missing, you were just not here. So, are there any other corrections?
No,
on the minutes? Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the October 9th minutes.
Okay, second? Okay. No dissenting votes, so we'll say by unanimous consent, the minutes are approved and we will move on. And next month, we should have a couple of sets of minutes to approve. So we'll move on to public comments, and I see nobody in the audience for public comments. So I will close the public comment section of this meeting and we'll move on. Item 6A, San Mateo County Transportation Authority, the Grand Boulevard Initiative. Mr.
Through the chair.
Wong.
Thank you, Chair Martos.
Wong.
As you know, last month, we were presented by Caltrans the El Camino Real Renewal Project. And so this is what the rest of the county is doing. It's an initiative that was started a few years ago that's been restarted. And so we can glimpse and see aspects of it that we may want to eventually include into our portion of El Camino. We have Nick Yee with Samtrans, who will be making the presentation as soon as I call it up.
Yeah, are our monitors going to turn on here?
Oh.
Do we need to do anything? No worries.
It's been a minute. since I've been-
No problem.
It's the, yeah, one on the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just lit up blue. You just turned it off.
Okay.
It's all good. Now there we go. Excellent. I'm sorry. Your name again?
Nicholas Yee.
Yee.
Yeah.
Nicholas Yee. Thank you.
Do I need to turn this on or is this on already?
It should be on.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Martos, Commissioner French, Commissioner Brown. My name is Nicholas Yee. I'm a senior planner with Samtrans, and I'm the deputy project manager for the Grand Boulevard Initiative, or which I'll refer to tonight as GBI. So tonight I'll be giving a presentation about where we are with the initiative and where we are with this action plan. Next slide, please. So I'll give you a little background about the Grand Boulevard Initiative, or GBI. So you know that El Camino is a state highway, State Route 82. So it requires actually many partners to come to the table together. So we have cities and funding implementation partners like Samtrans, the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, or the TA, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MTC, the City County Association of Governments, CCAG, and Caltrans. So GBI is the forum by which we're doing this. Samtrans is leading the effort by bringing together 5 countywide agencies, 15 jurisdictions, as well as business and advocate groups to address transportation challenges along El Camino Real. One important note is that the decision-making for El Camino Real is dispersed. Caltrans owns the right-of-way, but cities have a stake in how their main street looks and feels. The vision for El Camino Real needs to be context-specific, but also cohesive as a corridor. GBI is striking this balance by incorporating local planning processes into a countywide vision. Next slide, please. So this effort requires a ground-up and top-down approach. We have to both understand what cities' visions and needs are, as well as define a broad set of regional and countywide goals so that cities will buy into to ensure consistency across the cities. So over the past year, we've convened the GBI task force, which includes the cities, public agencies, and advocates and business groups that I've previously mentioned. So these meetings involved a series of 7 workshops over the last year to start large by defining the priority problems and then narrowing it down into vision, goals, and actions. So often during this process, we've asked city staff to put on the regional hats. So in addition to convening the task force, we've presented to Public Works and Planning directors in January 2025 and conducted a roadshow to city councils in fall 2025 to gather input on the action plan. Next slide, please. So as you can see from this map here, every city in San Mateo County is working on complete street studies. So some have either completed them or are currently in the process of completing them. So for example, some in progress include the Central El Camino Real Multimodal Plan for San Mateo, Belmont, and San Carlos. We have a CCAC study happening in San Bruno and Millbrae, and then also one in South City, for example. So public engagement happens at the local level during these planning studies, and alternatives are developed locally. GBI serves as a forum for collaboration across these local studies and knits them together into a comprehensive countywide vision. So as you probably know, it's important to note that Burlingame is the furthest along of all these cities, as construction will begin early next year. So GBI's goal is to help cities navigate the lengthy Caltrans approval process that Burlingame just went through, but doing so as a coordinated effort to ensure improvements along El Camino Real are deployed at the same time corridor-wide. Next slide, please. So we have a sense of what's been going on in all the cities. So as you can see here in Burlingame, we have the pedestrian bicycle master plan, there's a Vision Zero action plan, and as previously mentioned, there's the Caltrans El Camino Real renewal project on that will start construction next year. Next slide, please. So why is Samtrans leading this effort? So we're trying to advance transportation improvements along El Camino Real, and that will require collaboration between cities, countywide and regional agencies, and Caltrans. Samtrans fixed bus route, such as route ECR, will benefit from streetscape improvements that will make transit more reliable and access to bus stops safer. Samtrans and the TA will coordinate a Caltrans project development process at a countywide level, including developing a comprehensive strategy for implementation, phasing, and funding. The action plan is the first step and is a requirement by Caltrans. With our boards adopting this plan, Samtrans and the TA will take the required action to start this process. Working together presents the opportunity to pull resources and technical expertise across agencies. Next slide, please. So I'll go a little more into the GBI action plan now. Next slide. So our task force has worked together over the last year, collaborating and strategizing together at in-person meetings, which lay the groundwork for the action plan, which is now available as a draft for public review. The action plan is the first step in a countywide Caltrans project development process, acting as a feasibility study for the project initiation document, or PID, which is the first step in the Caltrans approval process. So through the action plan, it will help evaluate corridor-wide needs, establish a cohesive vision, and build momentum towards implementation. Next slide, please. So we have developed a vision statement. So in our most recent GBI task force meeting, we worked together to craft this vision for the future and what we hope to be an outcome of our work together. So the vision statement reads, El Camino Real is a safe and vibrant street where people of all ages and abilities travel comfortably. So if we take a look at this statement and break it down, it follows as this. So a safe street eliminates fatalities, bless you, and serious injuries by managing speeds, conflicts, and travel behavior. A vibrant street supports local businesses, strengthens sense of community, and is a place people want to spend time. And lastly, all ages and abilities means that everyone has the freedom to travel comfortably, including seniors, children, and people with disabilities. So this vision statement will serve as our North Star for this effort. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we'll break down some of the problem statements and goals that were developed through the working group and task force. We've basically defined them as 3 priority problems. So if we go to the first one. So the first theme was safety. So this problem statement reads, El Camino Real has an unusually high rate of fatal or serious injury crashes, particularly for people walking or biking. So the goal will be to adopt the injury prevention mindset for El Camino Real. So as a little bit more context for safety, El Camino Real has one of the highest rates of fatalities and serious injuries in the region over the last 20 years from 2022 to 2022. So key factors influencing collisions are speed, infrastructure, and the built environments. 35 mile an hour plus speed limits elevates the risk of death or serious injury. Next. So for mobility, the problem statement reads, El Camino Real's highway-like design discourages walking, biking, and transit use. So the goal will be to transform El Camino Real into a complete street. So for more context for mobility, infrastructure conditions that contribute to collisions include unmarked or unsignalized intersections or crossings, long crosswalk distances, the absence of separated bike facilities, absence of pedestrian scale lighting, and uncontrolled left turns. And next. And lastly, the theme of process. So the problem statement reads, it's too challenging for individual cities to develop, implement, and fund transportation projects along El Camino Real. So our goal will be to create a framework for change, aligning vision, process, and funding. So the task force acknowledged that meaningful progress focused on safety and mobility would require addressing underlying governance and funding challenges. Next. So this slide takes a look at some of our action plan. So it's going to just kind of scroll one by one. So first one. So basically, we use the vision statement, as previously mentioned, to help guide transforming El Camino towards a complete street. So the first priority is elimination of fatalities and serious injuries. So we want to manage speeds and conflicts while prioritizing vulnerable users. Next. We want to make an efficient and comfortable transit corridor. So transit improvements that will reduce travel times and improve reliability, including bus lanes on congested segments of the corridor. Next. We want a continuous bikeway for all ages and abilities, a corridor-wide backbone bikeway on El Camino Real or on parallel streets. And next. And lastly, we would like a walk pedestrian environment. Bless you. Sidewalk and crosswalk improvements are needed throughout the corridor. Next slide, please. So for next steps, next. So here's a look at the timeline for GBI over the next few years. So we're currently in the conceptual planning phase. So in other words, finalizing the action plan, which serves as a feasibility study for the Caltrans project initiation document, or PID. Then in 2026, we'll begin the Caltrans project development process with the project initiation document, then enter the design phase, which are those two next steps, and finally entering construction with ongoing operations and maintenance. This whole process is owned by Caltrans and requires an extensive timeline, meaning that we'll likely not see whole-scale improvements on the corridor for at least 8 to 10 years from now. But again, as I've mentioned before, you can see that Burlingame is the first along in this process of all the cities having gone through this Caltrans process already. Next slide. So this is the fun one. So in addition to taking a long time, it's going to cost a lot of money. We're estimated in the ballpark of up to $1 billion. This is where Samtrans and our project partners show value in leading this effort. It's a long and challenging process that we're guiding cities through together. Given that this is a 22-mile streetscape project, it's a much different scale and level of challenge that's bigger than any individual city. Samtrans and our partner agencies will identify funding sources and work hand in hand with cities to make this project competitive for large funding sources. Next slide, please. So lastly, for next steps, as I mentioned, we have our draft action plan available for public review. It's online at samtrans.com/GBI. We just went to our Samtrans and TA boards last week as an info item, and we'll be going back again in January 2026 to seek adoption of the action plan. As I mentioned before, we have local corridor studies concluding in 2026, such as the ones in San Mateo, Belmont, San Carlos, San Bruno, Millbrae, and South City. And then as a organization, Samtrans is preparing to prepare the project initiation document 2026 to begin the Caltrans process. So that concludes my slides. I'll be happy to take any questions or feedback you have.
All right, thank you much, Mr. Yee. Commissioners, questions, feedback? Who wants to start?
I do have a
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, for the presentation. It's extensive and very interesting. During this process, I'm just curious now, is there a section of El Camino in this initiative that is considered to be the best on El Camino right now? Or is there a section that if I were to drive there, drive through El Camino, in any part of this that I could say, wow, this really looks good? Or I'm sure everyone's going to have different levels of changes, right? But I'm just curious if there's a section in this initiative that, or part of the El Camino that we're trying to get to.
Yeah, I think that's the difficult thing where it's kind of subjective, but also like, what's your viewpoint? Like, are you more of a biker? Are you more of a transit user? Are you more driver? So I think if you want to look at it from a complete streets lens, I think that's a difficult one. So I guess like maybe Redwood City would be a good starting point. So they, I think, implemented a pilot bike lane on El Camino like this year on the northbound side near downtown. You see, I think about like 6 to 8 story buildings being developed along El Camino Route. So you see the density going in there. I know there's a bike lane in South City. You see other parts that have varying degrees of density, mixed use developments going along the corridor. But really where you go, it just depends. Like, I had to go on different walking tours. So I went in Burlingame or Belmont, and it seemed fine until I hit just north of the station and literally the sidewalk ends. So what do you do about that? Do you dart across 6 lanes of traffic? Do you go back to the signal lights? It's varying experiences for all. So I think we're just trying to make it consistent as possible. And obviously there's going to be challenges where there's different roadway widths, different needs and wants from the cities. So just trying to stitch together all the local visions as best possible.
Okay, thank you. That's the only question that I had at this point.
Okay, Commissioner French?
Yeah, so is this on? I don't think this is on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you had one comment. You said Burlingame is the first something in the project, and I
Yeah.
didn't catch the word, the first.
If we could go back to the slides, Mr. Wong. And then the timeline slide towards the end. It should be like 4. Yeah.
Okay.
So like I mentioned before, we're presenting on the action plan, which is still in the draft form. So it's quote unquote the feasibility study that Caltrans requires for starting this whole process here.
Mhm.
So like I said, we'll start the project initiation document next year. But what I was trying to explain is that Burlingame has gone through this whole process. So basically you start with the project initiation documents, which is kind of vetting the project as a whole. And then you go into the environmental phase where you actually really refine the alternatives. And then you go into the plans, specs, and estimates. So you kind of really drill down the project, and then you finally go into construction. So like I said, this is an 8 to 10 year process from where we are now to like seeing, developments. So realistically, maybe Mr. Wong can elaborate, but I know the construction is going to last about 2029 here in Burlingame. So if we backtrack, you probably started about 10 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, through the chair. Mr. Yee is correct. We've gone through this entire process. I mean, we vetted the project to see if we can do more complete streets, but given the capacities, the need for transit on there, we weren't able to. There's other options at the other cities that are in the same situation where they're not able to add bike facilities here. So we will look at the GBI and see how they're approaching. And we're part of that, where we're seeing if do we have a parallel road that we can use to, and then eventually get back on. But there's we're the one city right now that's ahead of it. So we'll get there and then see how we go.
So I had another comment because one of your goals, the current was, it's a highway and you wanted to have folks think of it as a street. And definitely El Camino can be both. As I drive down, like Menlo Park was probably featured there in your renderings, or that's what it reminded me of, that area where there are stores and it's very much a street. Pedestrians will walk across, but then there's areas that's in Burlingame completely residential. So I just like a thought that came to mind. Do you want to color code that? Because you will behave differently as a driver if speed is the issue to cause these fatalities. It's like, do we want to, similar to that's been done in the neighborhoods, like we're using color to like alert drivers. Like, is it all going to be uniform? Is that your goal? Or is it like, this is Menlo Park area, this is the San Mateo? I suppose retail is the word I'm looking for. Like, how are you going to differentiate the whole highway? Because I don't see it all as a street. It is just, we're not parking to go shopping along the whole portion of it. So has that been taken into consideration?
Yeah, and if I think I understand your question correctly, it's the balance of like, is it kind of local or is it throughput or
Correct.
get from A to B? Yeah. So I think that's the challenge where each city has their own kind of local vision, their own needs. So some are preferring bus lanes, some are preferring bike lanes,
Mhm.
some are preferring, wider sidewalks. Some want a combination of the following, but obviously it's roadway constraints, preventing all of those. So I think you start seeing kind of the natural breaks in cities. So it's like, okay, if you go through like South City, San Bruno, Millbrae, you kind of feel like it's the same general width. So maybe you can kind of stitch those together. Then once you get to a Burlingame, you narrow down to 2 lanes, which is the trouble with trying to add in bike lanes, which is not possible, obviously. So look at something like maybe California Drive to go as a parallel route to you can maybe get back to El Camino, and then
Mhm.
like San Mateo, Belmont, and San Carlos with that study, they could possibly have something stitched together there because they're kind of the same and they're going through the study together. And then does it mesh with Redwood City? And then you have like Menlo Park and Atchison on the south. So how did those all start working together? And obviously, South City with like 6 lanes is very different than Menlo Park with 4 lanes. So
Right.
I used to work in Menlo Park and I live in South City, so I see the differences. Driving to Costco is crazy in South City versus Menlo Park's very calm. So how do you have either the uniform experience of the street, or you're trying to get people from A to B? And I think that's
Right.
the
And
challenge.
do drivers have to constantly change because it's inconsistent the whole way down, right?
Yeah. So
And
that's the
how does that work from a safety perspective?
Yeah, and that's the goal where it's like, I think realistically, if we're trying to stitch them together, if there really is like a 6-lane segment and a 4-lane segment, there will be a transition zone,
Mhm.
but possibly they may be going down 4 lanes and that'll be how you incorporate a bus lane or a bike lane. So obviously there's gonna be some give and take. So someone's gonna have to give up a little more. So maybe you're slower, but there'll be more people on the bus or riding bikes, trying to finding those balances. And then I think that's what going through the local process is going to be hard, because we have to see what cities are needing and wanting, what their constituents are wanting, and then how the councils are reacting to this. So like I said, in the PID phase, we're just kind of getting the general alternatives from all the cities together.
Mhm.
So we see the quote unquote concept for Caltrans. And then through the next stage, that's when we really have to refine them. So we still have time to go back to the public really understands. But like I said, we have, if you go to our action plan, you can see some general high level renderings of what the quarter could look like depending on the segment. But it's like, how do we stitch those all together based on the needs, and then, how the public reacts to it?
Appreciate that. And then I have one final comment. It was brought up at last month's meeting, was the elderly. So I suppose, are you doing studies into the demographics of each city? Like if Burlingame happens to have a bunch of young people like that, are you looking at that? Because you mentioned, biker lanes, transit lanes, I'm thinking mobility for elderly. Like, do you consider the population of the city as you break out that design? I guess that was just a comment I had.
I'm not sure if we've necessarily drilled into that, but as a high level concept, we do take that into account. So for example, like I jokingly say this as my own personal viewpoints. Like I like to think of, transportation as like, if I literally am going to break my leg tomorrow, knock on wood, what do I do?
Mhm.
I can't just say I can drive everywhere. So is there a bus for me? Are there loading zones if I take paratransit? Things like that. So how can we address everyone's needs? So there's going to be some challenges of, sacrificing its space and whatnot, but maybe giving up some parking could, lead to loading zones for paratransit,
Mhm.
Ubers, DoorDashes, stuff like that. So maybe it'll help mitigate congestion there. Or having space for bikers will actually let them bike now because they were too scared to bike out Camino. So it's just trying to put all the options on the table and see what's best that fits every demographic. So to your original question about seniors, we do want to create a comfortable street for walking. If they are disabled by chance, then, it's not going to create any hindrances, or there's, accessibility through like loading zones, things like that.
Great. It sounds like you're considering it all. I just was curious with that broken down and how you
Yeah,
dealt
of
with
course.
that. Thank you.
I have some questions, Mr. Yee, comments. So this is very early, right? Whereas the project initiation starts next year sometime.
Yeah.
And this is a big view. We're Burlingame, we're a little piece in the middle, and we have our own needs and implementation to satisfy those needs. But when we integrate with the entire GBI, the whole section there, the interfaces are going to be critical, as you pointed out. So we are in implementation for all practical purposes. So our interfaces are going to pretty much be fixed. So in the consideration of the segments that are adjacent to our city, those interfaces, I'm assuming, are going to be fluent, and the transition between cities, or that's all being carefully studied. Is that right?
Yeah, we haven't fully studied it yet, but it's in the works.
Yeah, yeah. And Mr. Wong, what this project is, the constraints on this project have not really constrained what we're doing in Burlingame for our segment. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, we're not talking, well, we're staying with the cross section that we
Yeah.
have. We're not going to change it to, there was not talk of road diet or anything like that.
Yeah.
We are fixed at what's out there now is going to be similar to what's out there, just much more improved with pedestrian enhancements and obviously a better walkway along both sides of it that we don't have now.
Right, right. Yeah, I just want to confirm that. I mean, we have a design, it's ready to go. It's going to start implementation next month. And this is what we're going to implement. And hopefully this larger project is going to learn best practices from what we've done in Burlingame, right? I know we have some challenges about how we're going to close segments of the roadway and route things, through neighborhoods, which that's a separate challenge. But beyond that, just the construction best practices that we might learn here in Burlingame since we're the first. I wanted to look at one of your slides that talked about the problem statements and, serious injury crashes. And again, I want to just narrow the scope to Burlingame. These aren't Burlingame specific based on data. Is that correct? These are more across the entire roadway, and it doesn't give numbers or anything. So it high is relative or qualitative, not quantitative. But am I correct in assuming that this is not an indication of the fatal and serious injuries that occur on El Camino in Burlingame? Is that right?
Yes, we're not calling out Burlingame. This is
Okay.
of
Okay.
order. So
Okay.
I think if I remember off the top of my head, the closest for what's kind of guiding these statements is I think there's a lot of incidents at Millbrae Avenue. Because
Yeah.
anecdotally that like a lot of traffic is coming to Burlingame from. So
Yeah.
I think that's why there's also a lot of incidents there, especially with that triple left turn lane.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
Oh.
I know that's like a hot spot. And then there's a lot of hot spots here and there, but it's not like we're calling out Burlingame in general.
Okay.
Specifically, it's just a kind of general.
Yeah, I mean, any collisions, especially fatalities, it really gets our attention here. But or you're talking about near the hospital, and there's schools over in that area, and so there's a lot of cross traffic going across El Camino and things. But yeah, okay, so that was one thing I just wanted to confirm. And then the last comment about framework. So when I think of framework, I think of a general approach that can be utilized multiple times in multiple situations. So the framework, again, Burlingame is going to be implemented when the rest of the counties or the cities look forward to coming up with their design work. So is some of what Burlingame has planning to implement is it already considered as part of that framework or not? Am I confusing you, Mr. Long?
You'll have to repeat that. I'm trying.
Okay, so for when I think of framework, I think of a process or an approach that can be utilized over and over, right? It's a good basis for designing something, right? And so what we've done in Burlingame, does that feed into part of this framework or?
I'm sure it will be once
Uh-huh.
once we get through, because all the questions that the GBI project will be being asked in the future
Yeah.
are going to be asked to us, well, within a few months. when
Yeah.
we start the work. So
Okay.
we will be part of that. And yeah, again, as you indicated earlier, best practices.
Yep.
Everyone's going to learn from us.
Yeah, but it's not the reverse where their framework, we built our design based on their framework. It's
No.
probably they'll build the framework with some of the things, the best practices that we've found in our implementation.
And I'll say this lightly because the BBI process it's been around before I believe the renewal project.
Yeah.
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 And then it stopped and it's restarted. So I'm sure since our director's been around at that same amount of time that's been involved, that some of that earlier work has carried into our project.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and just to add, I think
Yeah.
like Mr. Wong mentioned, and you kind of alluded to, we'll be learning from Burlingame, and also Colma's kind of slightly ahead of us too. So it's kind of learning from you two cities, but we're taking the other 11 jurisdictions in San Mateo County with us to kind of process, kind of build upon that. But it's not to say like, oh, Burlingame is totally out of the picture. We will work with Burlingame to kind of figure out transitions, kind of figure out, parallel routes, but also if there's funding gaps, that's directly related to GBI or, can fund a bike lane in California Drive, that could be something that we're working together with too. So it's not like we're totally just ignoring you guys because you're so ahead of us. We're learning from you guys and just trying to figure out how everything works together. But at the end of the day, we are working together, especially I think the funding aspect is the biggest part where there's still money on the table that's needed for a lot of these projects.
Yep. Okay, very good. A reason for all those questions is in 5 years from now, I don't want to hear that, oh, we designed it wrong because it's not part of the GBI and we have to go back and change something. Actually, in 5 years, we probably won't even be done yet. So 2020, maybe 2029, right? Yeah.
For us.
So,
But I think, yeah, just kind of building on that too, I think like from what I've heard, Burlingame, there's a lot of things that had to be given up, like left turn lanes, just
yeah,
roadways, just how it is.
yeah,
And especially with the historic road trees, that's all you can really do. So like,
right.
it's kind of figuring out how that feeds into the rest of the corridor. Because like, for example, if you have bus lanes in San Mateo, it's going to have to end somewhere. And then we just have to go through Burlingame together. And just, unfortunately, that's just how it is.
Right,
Hopefully, if you speed up the whole corridor as an entirety, then that's the win.
right. Okay. All right. Is that helpful? I mean, we gave you comments, we asked questions.
Yeah.
Is
definitely.
that,
Are there
yeah.
questions? Happy to answer any.
yeah. Anything else? No. Okay, we appreciate the presentation and very timely since we're starting. It's shovel ready, right, Mr. Wong? That's the term you all use as civil engineers.
Ribbon cutting
Shovel ready.
Thursday,
Say again?
ribbon cutting next Thursday,
Oh, nice. Very good.
15. What's the,
15th is Monday.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
Monday.
okay.
Double check my calendar.
I think you're right.
15th.
Very good.
It's Monday.
All right, Mr. Yi, we appreciate it very much.
No, thank you for having me and best of luck with your project. And, hopefully it's not 5 years from now. It's
Yeah. We're
2029.
not going to be looking to change anything. Yep.
All right.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good evening.
Sorry.
Was that in the e-news that the ribbon cutting's on the 15th?
Pretty sure. I can send you guys.
Okay.
an-
Yeah, please. All right, that ends item 6A. We'll move on to 6B, the Broadway grade separation update. Mr. Wong.
Thank you, Chair Martos. Oops. Okay. That's what I get for using the same. All right. The Broadway grade separation update for you folks. Some of it'll be what a lot of folks already know. But we're just going to present you tonight an update kind of on the schedule where the project is. But more importantly, what we want to talk about are the design team is, we've been working with the design team. They've come up with pedestrian crossings since we'll talk about, there's no longer a station, but new pedestrian crossings. Again, we're trying to cut costs on this project to try to do whatever we can to keep it going so we can make it viable for sometime in the near future. What they've come up with are 3 options. We wanted to share it with the commission, get their feedback. Staff has we have a recommendation or suggestion on it, and we'll present that to you. And then hopefully we'll get feedback from you folks, get some support so we can allow the design to continue. The goal is, even though this project isn't fully funded, the fact that we can get everything ready so when the funding does reoccur, especially at the federal level, that we'll be first in line because we'll have a shovel-ready project. It's the design, the shelf, all the permits have been gone through, it's been vetted. So it's a mere, let's get the money and then be able to start it. So with that, just to give you a little bit of history of how we ended up where we are, about a year or so ago, the Caltrain, they went through what they call a CMGC process, which is you bring on a construction manager, general contractor on early into the project, and they look at it through a different vision. We're in the ivory tower, they're on the ground, so they have better ideas on cost, timing, logistics. Unfortunately, after going through that process, the project went from, we were at like 300 million, and now it's over 600 million. So with that, we had to stop, go back, and then do a value engineering, and now go back to 5% design. Some of the big things that we've already taken care of is the Broadway station is no longer. That's been pulled from the project. Structure itself, rather being really wide, and without the station, it's able to be narrow. That means less money of trying to acquire right away along there. And for us, the one that impacts, there's some reduced crossing locations, and I'll show you what they were. So here's the train crossing. Broadway is here on the left going down. You've got Broadway here, moving to the middle here. It's Cadillac up on top, and we had a Cadillac crossing, and we have the Carmelita crossing, as well as down the line. If you know, there's an at-grade pedestrian crossing at Morel. That was going to be pushed up, and it was going to become Mejia. There was going to be, rather than at-grade, it was going to be a tunnel. So right here, you have a crossing on the north side, the south side, Cadillac crossing, Carmelita, and Mejia. So we had 5 crossings ultimately. We're currently, realistically, we only probably had the one at Morel. That's actually a great crossing. The Cadillac, Carmelita didn't exist, and Broadway is what it is today. So the first proposed is the Cadillac crossing. I'm sorry, Sanchez crossing. So we would have continued to have this structure here on both sides of Broadway. However, they would be narrower because originally with the station, the openings would be much wider because there would be pedestrian. There would be an entrance to go up to the platform on top. So that's been narrowed to be a Class 1 facility still. What you'll also see well, I'll show you on the next slide. And then here they have a crossing. It's near Sanchez Creek. And it's a Caltrain maintenance access for them. However, it'd be widened to be enough to allow pedestrians public use. So that's one of the options. And just want to get into it a little bit. Again, as I said, if you look here without the station, both on Broadway, while much wider and better than what we have now, they're roughly 10-foot pathways. And I'll show you an example of that on each side. Longer, it can be a plaza. That plaza is gone without the station. Previously on Carolyn, it was going to be a 2A facility on the street. This continues to be a Class 1 facility. So this Class 1 facility now wraps around where the station would have been, because there used to be parking along Carolyn, and then the plaza here was, it was a walking plaza, which just kind of continues to be. It takes the facility that's currently out there, if you go northbound, that's on the roadway, it takes it off the roadway and puts it up on the sidewalk. So obviously better protection, a little wider for bikes and pedestrians. The next option, we continue to have the 2 here, and we add a third one here at Cadillac. Cadillac, in this case, there would be hopefully we're still pushing for a traffic signal at Cadillac and Carolyn where one doesn't exist now. So this will allow folks to, if you're coming across Carolyn, you can cut there. Our thought is with the placement here, it allows access onto Cadillac, access onto a bike crossing over 101, and then you can continue out to the Bay Shore. So it's much better. It's much slower access along that versus Broadway, because once you get on top of Broadway, you're dealing with a higher stress area because you've got cars and multiple lanes. The next option would be, rather than Cadillac, have it at Carmelita, because it would aligns with Carmelita entering the station, or I'm sorry, crossing the tracks. So that's the only difference here. Option 2, option 3 are just 2 different streets. Everything else is the same. Give you an example of what the crossing and what we're talking about. It's not grand as it might have been with the station, but it's a cut through underneath. And this one, just for example, is what Cadillac is proposed to look like for folks to go through. Here's the example of the path that would be going all along California, along both sides of Broadway, as well as down Carolyn. Again, the goal tonight was to show you this, answer any questions you might have, and then hopefully we'll take some of this feedback and we'll give it, any feedback we get, we'll bring it to the let the design team know so you can continue and move forward so we can get to that 65% design and can just continue the project. So with that, sorry, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Commissioners, questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
in
Go ahead.
regard to This, Andy. So the Carmelita, you said it aligns. What's the benefit of that? Is there a cost reduction when it aligns? Or what's the difference between the three, like option 2 and option 3?
Option 2, oh, sorry, I didn't even get to the staff recommendation of. So so roughly each crossing is several $1 million, just with the design, the reinforcing, the structure around it. So the benefit of Carmelita versus it's just alignment. It doesn't change anything because if you go back to this one where we have it aligned with Cadillac, staff recommends Cadillac just because for the reasons of energizing that. Because right now, if you're coming from Cadillac onto Carolyn, you're having to wait to make the turn, either right turn or left turn onto Carolyn. For pedestrians crossing, it's also same difficulty. You've got to wait for a clearance. Potentially a signal there helps folks move traffic through there easier. Other options are maybe if it's low vehicular volume and it's just strictly pedestrian, bicyclists, you have a push button. That has been vetted, but some sort of control there would help and hopefully bring people through there to get them up and over. Because once you get on the bicycle overcrossing, that's solely for bikes or pedestrians. And then you get to the corner, if you're at some point we'll be able to transition better. You can get onto the Bay Trail, but you can definitely get to Bayside Park from there and then cross over at the driveway, but it enhances that area. So staff recommendation is that, but really that's the only difference with Carmelita. It's aligned, but it doesn't make a difference as far as one or the other. As far as the alignment, it's just the preference is Cadillac because of what it will do for the Bay Trail and going forward. Plus, at this time at Carmelita, we have a signal. You can get across there. But Cadillac, it's a little harder to get across. Sorry.
Thank you. Explain.
So,
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Andy, can you show us again, maybe this is what you're showing us now, that this is option 2 that we're looking at now currently?
I'm sorry, it's option 3. Option 2 is
Was the original one? Okay, okay. And we're proposing to put a light on Carolan
some sort
and,
of
or some kind of,
control. It's yet to be determined. I mean, as of right now, what it says here, a traffic signal,
yes,
it's being there, but it could depend too. We could start with flashing beacon. That would help cyclists and pedestrians get across without having to impact. I did get some feedback regarding northbound traffic on Carolyn. You're worried, especially that right turn. If you have a signal there, it might at the peak times for that. So maybe we start with something smaller with the idea that if it becomes, it's just like we study it, you go from a stop sign and you get enough, you eventually have to go to a signal. It's something like that here. We start low just to see what in back of the mind. I mean, we might even be able to put in some of the infrastructure like the underground, the pull boxes, the conduit. So when it's time, we drop foundations in and then pull wire and then the signal's up much faster. No digging up.
my biggest question is when you're coming off of Broadway, and you're coming off of 101 onto Broadway,
Take the left.
coming down, you're traveling west on Broadway. If I'm making that left turn,
Yeah.
going south
Mhm.
on Carolan, that's a really short distance between Broadway and Cadillac. So if there's a light there or some kind of, is that going to back up traffic?
And
'Cause
that's-
that's a really short distance between.
So it's, I'm sorry. It's all in the staff report, but there is a distance, yes. That's the consideration. That's one of the trade-offs because obviously if you have, even here, if you show Sanchez, if you just left
Right.
that there, it's further away.
Right, right.
It's a trade-off because this is an uncontrolled one. If you go back to, let's say we go back to this one. We prefer another crossing, although we have this one. So if someone coming Cadillac, I'm sorry, going Carmelita and they want to get to Cadillac, they can either go up to Broadway and double back along Carolyn, or they can go down here, use Sanchez and then go up. Still better than what we have. Just thought how convenient, you know, one of the other options of either adding Carolyn or Cadillac makes it a little more convenient
Sure.
for folks to cut through. Yes, and we agree, there's a trade-off because if you put something closer here, it will, it has potential of having that happen. So that's why initially we start with something less or the signals get coordinated.
Okay.
But that is consideration.
Okay, I'm sure, look, I trust you guys implicitly. I'm just, again, visually, and I've driven down there quite a bit. Just wanted, I'm sure it was all taken into consideration, the distance. That's the only question that I had as well, is that distance there.
So, Mr. Wong, following up on what Commissioner Brown said, the signals, if there is a signal at Cadillac, if left turn is initiated by signal at Broadway, those could be coordinated, right? So that the the Carolyn flow of traffic would be enabled by a green signal, right? I mean, it's kind of like a train track almost, right? So that things don't back up.
And given that at this point, when we're at this phase, fingers crossed, that
Yeah.
there are no tracks to interfere, we can make that better than it is now. Like right now,
Yeah.
if we're to try, if we had a signal at Cadillac and we tried this, at Cadillac, it would be impacted because the short time we could allow to
Right,
have left turns. But given the case where there's no tracks, we have to worry about
right,
increase that time.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. So go back to option 2. So I'm in favor of this with one exception, the southbound crossing there. So the one we have at Morel, it's at Morel, right?
Yeah.
Currently, is that this one, or is that one going to be removed and we'll add this one instead?
And I will have to look at it because we will
Yeah.
no longer at Morel. Yeah. Morel won't exist,
Okay,
right? Because there won't be any way to cross the tracks there.
because of the grade,
Uh,
because it's coming up,
plus
or?
it's, and I have to see where it occurs. If you're in between, right? You don't have enough of the structure above you to go. And it's too low at that point.
Okay,
And then this is also location for whatever reason Caltrain needs to have a way to get over or look through those tracks. So that's why they had that there. But
yeah, so the one at grade at Morel would go away because
it goes
they're
way under.
they're not going to dig under and they can't keep it at grade.
no,
Okay, because the tracks will
And
begin to
project is
go up.
move
Hmm.
at grade, whether it be vehicular or pedestrian.
Okay, and this cut through already sort of exists? Did you say something about Caltrans or
It
Caltrain?
exists.
It does not exist. This would be brand new. So I'm wondering why we need that. What's the benefit of that? Is it to get people to cross a little closer to Burlingame High instead of having to cross a Cadillac and going all the way down Caroline? I mean, what's the benefit of having that southbound crossing?
This crossing is, we're just actually utilizing it. It's for Caltrain. They're using it to service whether they need to get across the tracks without across at Broadway. They need to service the facility. They had required this one. Our thought was to make this be accessible to the public rather than have a crossing just for Caltrain. If you could utilize it for us, it benefits us to.
Okay,
that there.
okay. So we're not, so we're just tagging on to what Caltrain wants there. Okay. Yeah, because I don't see to the public, I don't see a real benefit for us putting that in there. But if Caltrain wants it, okay, then sure, let's make it accessible to public as well. Okay. So then the last thing, I guess, is are you requiring or requesting a vote by this commission on which of the 3 options we want tonight, or is this just informational for us?
We're hoping, well, I mean,
Oh.
ours is to take feedback with our supporting Cadillac.
Yeah.
Take it to the designers, the design team, so they can continue moving,
Okay.
they can get off it. It sounds like, I mean, again, we're limited today with 3 of you.
It's a quorum.
It's
We
a
can,
quorum.
if it's unanimous, it'll be a,
Or
yeah, it'll be a motion of support if it's
like,
unanimous.
and you can, if you have some reservations, we can entertain those. But yes, the goal was to see if you support the recommendation or you had other feedback or something different.
Okay. Okay, so commissioners, do we want to pick option 1, 2, or 3? Does somebody want to make a motion?
I just have another question.
Yeah,
on
go ahead.
Tony's Point of this being the one lane where you turn, because Broadway, 101 coming south doesn't have a Burlingame Avenue exit.
Yes.
And so I use that all the time, and I think you're right on the shortness of it. So where you're left stuck is on the track. If it backs up, that just does concern me, given the we have 5 lanes coming off the freeway and
Right.
it turns into one to that. You're going, it looks to be the next street over, right? So you've got Broadway and then Cadillac. So again, you mentioned a trade-off. What's the trade-off the other side, right? I'm fixating on that volume coming over, and that's a tough. When you go into the left, you're like, oh, I should have went up Broadway. This is nuts. I feel like I'm going to be caught on the tracks. That's
Well-
how I feel as a driver.
And sorry, recall, I mean, sorry, big picture is there will no longer be tracks
Tracks.
sharing on Broadway here. So when I say we'll be able to have more control, we can, right now, if you're going westbound on Broadway and then making the left turn onto Carolyn, it's a shorter light. It's not as long as the left turn from Broadway onto California.
Right.
And that's just the way, because we're trying to keep the tracks clear. So with this, we would no longer have to worry about the tracks. Our timing is impacted by the track. When there's a train coming, we have to clear the tracks.
Right.
We no longer have to worry about that because the trains will be above us.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
Okay, I forgot that piece. Oh,
Mhm.
then, yeah,
We can do some more than we can now. We're limited to what.
Easy peasy,
it's
right?
the above, the double.
Yeah,
decker.
yeah.
Okay, we're like Vegas now. All
Yeah,
right.
The only hard part's finding the money. Okay, any other questions or comments, or do we want to make a recommendation?
Through the chair.
We didn't have public comment. Yeah, it closed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did we? I don't think we opened public comment on this particular item.
Okay, if you want.
On this
rule-
discussion item. We
Okay.
Had 5.
All right, all right,
didn't
all
have
right.
public-
This is on this particular one, former Commissioner Wetton. All right, so let me finish with the commissioner's comments. Any other further comments?
Yeah.
Commissioners, okay. All right, then I will open public comment. Thank you, Mr. Wong, and former Commissioner Howard Wetton. Good evening.
I will keep it very quickly. This is something we looked at, I think, when I was still on the commission. I was a big advocate for doing the Carmelita one because there's alternate side street parking on Carmelita. So it facilitates people getting across town, especially people coming from deeper and east in addition. So I just wanted to throw that in. And I'll leave you with that.
Okay,
Got here late, so I don't know if there were some cons on the Carmelita crossing that I wasn't here to hear, but
Yeah.
wanted to
all
throw.
right. Very good, thank you. Okay, no other public comment? Okay, thank you, appreciate that. All right, so commissioners, do you want to make a recommendation? Does somebody want to make a motion on one of these 3?
Yeah, I move that we approve option 2 and with Cadillac Way, the structure that's planned for Cadillac Way.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right.
given That it's overground.
Okay, yes, all right. Ms. Brewer, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner French,
Yes.
and Chair Martin.
Aye. So the motion passes 3-0. Mr. Wong, we are in favor of option 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Now go find the money. I know, it's crazy.
This next one will,
All right, item 6C is SMCTA. This is Old Bay Shore Highway Complete Streets. Yeah.
sure. Thank you, Chair Martez.
Huh?
I'll have a little better story for you. Old Bay Shore Highway, the Complete Streets project. This meeting goals. We're gonna give you a little update on this project, especially for, I'm glad, well, at least 2 of the 3 newer commissioners who weren't exposed to this, talking about this project back when we did the feasibility study are here tonight. Get very preliminary feedback, and I say preliminary because you'll see the chart showing where we're at, and then the charts being the development process. So let's get into it. Back in 2022, we completed a corridor study or a feasibility study for Old Bay Shore Highway. It showed the existing conditions. We went through extensive outreach where we reached out to the businesses that were out there. It's called something different now, but at the time it was the Silicon Valley um, Visitors Bureau support. Yes, they have a different name now, but and through all that, we developed a preferred alternative with this commission, the community, and the council. At the time, we did our engineer's estimates and found that the construction costs were around 16 million to do this corridor. And then obviously from that, we began seeking grant funds so we can advance the design. So again, it's a Old Bay Shore Highway. It's a key north-south facility we have, mostly hotels and office now, where it's starting to get redeveloped with office, a lot of light industrial out there. We've got shuttles out there as well that serve the Bayfront employers. It's a direct connection to the Millbrae Transit Facility. That's because you just go up over Millbrae Avenue and then you can come down. And if you've been out there, we have a median island, but there are no bicycle facilities other than Sharrows out there. The roads getting pretty beat up, and there's some flooding during high tides. And again, we've got workers out there not only starting to get office, now you go further south, you've got Meta, we've got a lot of new office developments either in place already or in the works. And there's a lot of service for a lot of those businesses out there support the airport. So with that, the length of it, the project is from the Millbrae Burlingame city limits all the way to the US 101 northbound ramps. Again, the benefits, and you'll see you get a safer pedestrian facility on both sides and for bicycle travel as well. We'll have ADA compliant walkways the entire stretch. The drainage will be much better because we'll redo the curbs and gutters. And it'll strengthen the connection between the businesses, hotels out there with the downtown corridors. The impacts, obviously, we're going to tear up the roadway, so there will be limited access at times once we get to that phase. But it'll improve. I mean, the Old Bay Shore is kind of a gateway. I mean, if you're on a plane, it's the first thing you see coming over. If you're at the hotels, that's the first thing you see before you get into Burlingame itself. And again, reduce the risk of recurring flooding, but also making the facility much improved for bicyclists and pedestrians, a much better walking environment. So we get into some of the visuals. Existing, here's a snapshot. I believe this one's looking northbound. You know, it is what it is out there. And you could see some of the traffic islands that are out there. Some of them run further south as well along the corridor. Again, flooding, and there's no bicycle facility. So what was proposed on the alternative or the preferred concept was we have 2 lanes of travel in each direction, left turn pockets still to be able to pull turning vehicles out of the queue. Class 4, but protected bicycle way with, like you've seen, California Drive, we have this. California Drive's 2-way, this is 1-way, so you'd have this facility on both sides. But you see the dashed striping at the driveways and at cross streets. Better crossing, we'd be able to have more pedestrian refuge in the middle, but we're also creating a shorter crossing distance of traveling active vehicular lanes. And then I don't think we have one, but we'd also have bus stops where the buses would be up against it, and they would if you look at this, the buses would stop in the lane. However, the pedestrians would be queued here, be able to walk across and enter the bus, just to make it safer so you don't have folks coming around. I'll have to thank my colleague, Mr. Yang. He put together some of these slides, as well as he made the simulation to show what's preferred. As you can see here, on both sides, you have the protected bike lane with some landscaping, and here you have the median, and here the single travel lane in each direction. So let's see if we can make it run. Oh, there it is. So now we get to the good news. You'll really be thanking Mr. Yang. So as we said, we've been seeking grant funding for this. We want to enter, as you saw earlier in Mr. Yee's slide, the project, the PAD, the environmental documentation, the design phase, which is the plans, specifications, and engineering, and then finally construction. So we applied for the highway fund as most recently, and we were awarded, well, we're about to be awarded. It's gone through the CAC, it's gone through the board, so it's merely preliminary. They both supported it. We were looking at 19 million to complete the project. However, with, as you saw, our grouted grade separation project increase, the new project estimated cost is 24 million, but obviously that leaves a much shorter gap for us to cover, and we can do some more value engineering. So we will soon to have 19 million for this project to be go through the phase of getting designed, getting built. And here we are here. We got hopefully the funding. And now what we're going to go through, we're going to select a design team to go forward to advance what we've already got. We're not starting from zero. We have the feasibility study. We know we have a preferred alternative. We're going to advance that now into design. We're going to be seeking feedback from the community as well as the commission on the details. And then we will get to these other phases. So right here, once we're going through the request for proposal phase right now and seeking a design team. Once we get that, we'll have our own internal project kickoff. We'll get the design team and we'll have our first outreach meeting sometime next year where we'll show for the community, we'll be representing this Old Bayshore. Here's how we got, and show them and then at that point, and maybe this meeting we may even jump in, we might throw in the concepts, reintroduce the concepts. And then we'll have a second meeting. We'll take some of the feedback that we'll get, and then we'll go through the process of tweaking that. And ultimately what we want to bring to you is we'll bring to something, here's the location of these things, here's where the turn pockets are, roughly, we'll give you a little bit more what it's going to look like. And then we'll take it to council with the support, hopefully, that we get from the community and the group and the commission, and then show it to council. And then once they have that, we will go out to bid, select a contractor, hopefully tear up another street to make some significant improvements in town. So with that, as I mentioned, we're in the request RFP process. We'll select the design team, and then we'll go through it. And I won't even give you a timeline on when we think construction will be, but it's nice knowing we have the funds ready to go, and we've already starting to get the designer. So, and we have the feasibility study, which is a huge jump. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wong. Question, commissioners? No questions?
No, I think it's early in the process. I think good, but it's
Yeah.
kind of early in the process. I really don't have any questions either.
And stuff.
I had a couple.
Sure.
So with the single travel lanes, and you said buses are going to be traveling as well. And so there's no bus stops, right? So the bus will just stop in the travel lane and
There,
block traffic for a period of time. Is that right?
I don't have I'm gonna try to explain it. If you look at the picture here on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
There will be kind of bus stops located here. But what will happen is and we talked about this way back then, but as this bike lane approaches, say, one of these islands where it's adjacent to where a bus shelter is, so the pedestrian or the transit folks will be here. When the bus comes, it'll stop here in the travel lane. The folks will cross, this won't be walk down into the bike lane, walk up, it'll be flush. So there's a ramp for bicyclists to go across. So there, it's a shared area.
Hmm.
They cross that, then they enter the bus, and then the bus goes on, and then the cyclists, and I haven't seen enough of this, like, are they yielding here and then they go? But we'll look at that and how that's striped or signed but
Okay.
so you will have a bus shelter on the sidewalk, and then this is a kind of a crossing area.
Yeah, but the bus is going to stop in the travel lane,
It-
stop traffic. Okay.
I believe it will.
And more importantly, delivery vehicles, do they travel this street? And is that going to impact the traffic flow? I mean, there's a lot more businesses here. So I would hate to see a lot of delivery trucks blocking traffic most of the day.
And already along the corridor here, there is no on-street parking.
Uh-huh.
The deliveries are done on the side streets.
Okay. Okay.
And obviously, when the new developments go in, we're not gonna say, oh, you could be able to stop in Old Bay Shore. They'll have,
Yeah.
and the new building over there, they have much larger vehicles, and they have their own truck loading area shipped
Okay.
back, so.
Okay. 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 All right. Well, that's a very refreshing view and design there. So I like it. Any other questions? Otherwise,
No.
Commissioner Wetton, did you have any questions here? No? Okay. Close public comment. Yeah, looks good, Mr. Wong. Happy to see this. Boy, it's pretty hideous looking on that left slide right there. It'd be a big improvement.
Surprised that picture isn't in black and white. 'Cause it
Yeah.
really looks bad.
We'll be back to you. You'll
Yeah.
see this plenty of times before the shovel hits the ground.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We're moving along here. So we'll go to informational item 7A. Was there any public? No public comment. Okay. So we'll move on to community groups updates. No. Okay. Police Department reports. Sergeant Orloff.
Good evening, Commission.
Good evening.
So for the first time in as long as I can remember, I only have 6 crashes to report this month. I guess in the month that was Thanksgiving, we're thankful for the fact that only 6 crashes and no major or fatal suffered, and only 2 minor injury collisions. Can't remember the last time it was this light. Directing your attention to the 2 minor injury collisions that occurred. The report ending in 2614. It's occurred at El Camino and Peninsula and Park. There's kind of a 3-way intersection there. Driver 1 was driving their vehicle south on El Camino in the number 1 lane approaching the intersection with Peninsula. Driver 2 was driving their vehicle northbound on El Camino in the number 2 lane approaching the intersection of Peninsula. There was a 3rd driver driving their vehicle stopped at the limit line at the red light of westbound Peninsula at the intersection of Park / El Camino. The driver traveling south on El Camino had a green light, slowed to make a left turn from southbound El Camino onto eastbound Peninsula, and failed to yield to the driver who was traveling north on El Camino and proceeding to take that slight right turn on the northbound Park, I believe it is, when they collided. That collision between V1 and V2 caused the spin out, and then resulted in a collision with vehicle 3, which was stopped there. The collision resulted in a minor injury only, thankfully, to the party who had been traveling south on El Camino and failed to yield upon making their turning movement. Directing your attention to the other minor injury collision from the month, ending in 2761. This was the 100 block of California Drive. Driver was driving their vehicle north California Drive between Bayswater and Howard and sideswiped a parked vehicle, legally parked, on the east curb of California Drive. The collision caused damage to the vehicle's passenger side front fender and the parked vehicle's side rear fender. No airbags deployed. However, the driver sustained a minor injury, complaint of pain as a result of the collision. That was it as far as the 2 minor injury collisions. If you have any other questions about any of the other collisions listed, I can certainly answer them.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
I always like to know what's going on, like these Broadway and El Camino Real
Sure.
ending 2702.
Yeah, that one was a situation where a motorist was traveling south on El Camino, approaching Broadway. And another motorist was stopped southbound El Camino, waiting to make a left-hand turn, and the driver traveling south behind the vehicle experienced, in their words, some sort of brake failure, and it was a rear-end collision.
Thank you.
Low speed did not result in any injuries.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you, Sergeant. Appreciate that. All right. Mr. Wong, do we have no engineering?
No engineer report.
Month. Okay. Okay. Chair, Commissioner Communications, any communications anybody had?
No.
Nope. Nope. Okay. I'll move on to item 8A, subcommittee reports. No public comment, I'm assuming. No. Okay. Hillside Drive and Hillside Drive Safety and Traffic Calming. So our commissioners aren't here this evening. And anything new, Mr. Wong, on that? Or it's an implementation, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then ECR renewal.
Yeah, just real short comments here. There's a lot of information that came through recently, and it's been great, by the way. Most of it had to do with the detours as the
Yeah.
sections were closing. And there was a lot. I think the one was like a 37-page document for closers. And Commissioner Israelet and I have not really, we talked earlier today, we're going to get together next week and kind of go through the process and see if we can make any recommendations. I didn't have any recommendations because it's really hard to look at a piece of paper and say what is really going to happen with the traffic. I think the 2 things that we were talking about are when we close between Truesdale and Murchison, does that affect traffic going to the hospital? You know, so that's one of the big things that we're
Right, and obviously no different than when we do our projects, especially researching where we have to impact the street. You know, we make special provisions of looking at the area before too, even though we have a detour plan, like the schools, like how we're gonna mitigate through that. So obviously that'll be a big, since it's a regional facility.
Yeah, that was it, Mr. Wong. Just a couple of questions about, you know, high density kind of places like by St. Catherine's Church when they closed down that portion of El Camino, and how are we going to direct traffic down by Bayswater with you know, the schools open. So those might be questions that can't be answered right now, but we'll probably talk about those things a little bit later. So that's where we are.
Okay. Very good.
So did I miss the
Yeah.
communication? Last month it was starting in December, and then I heard earlier it's January. Was there something that went out? Because
I believe this came to Commissioner Israelet and I. So
Yeah.
you didn't miss the,
No. It only went to the subcommittee members,
that's
but
right.
at some point we will, we'll take that information, share with.
John,
No, so, I mean, like Ms. Brewer indicated, Monday will be the ribbon cutting, and the first part of the project will be just some, there'll be underground trees, but I mean, with the rest, you know, a few weeks left, few weeks left in the year, it's probably starting physically in January. There might be doing some preliminary things and getting things ready. But there will be notices going out once that occurs. We'll go, because we're e-news, we're going to use our social media just to let everyone know, because it will come, and yeah, you'll need to know which sections. We're not doing the entire corridor at once. They're doing parts. So
I get it. So last month, someone spoke about, one of the public had a comment about the project was only funded for during business hours, and it's a 5-year project. This is the tree removal, right? All of the 400 and whatever trees?
So the project is funded through construction. So we have that. It involves removing multiple trees. I can't recall how many, but a lot, I mean, several trees being replanted.
126?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The utilities going underground, and then the work to new sidewalks, curb and gutter, and the roadway comes in. Caltrans is actually coming in last. This other work has to be done first, which is part of the reason it's taken a while.
I see. I guess I've missed that. That
Okay.
was been before my time. Okay, that's all right. That's fine. I just thought it was the same project.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Okay, we're moving on to item 9, future agenda items. Mr. Wong.
Well, we still have, giving you, as I've mentioned before, update on Vision Zero. We've got our 2 California Drive projects, one between Oak Grove and Burlingame Avenue, and Peninsula, where we've had an outreach meeting with the local businesses there. And then we'll be bringing you an update on another project that we have going, working with the city of San Mateo. And so there's just a few things. So, but again, myself and I guess at this point, still be Chair Martos and then next month we'll do we'll have to have our, once we figure out if it indeed is still Chair Martos as part of the commission. They did have the interviews on Tuesday. So there were, including Chair Martos, there were 5 candidates. So, and there were some good candidates there. So he's losing his hair over it, but
Thanks for pointing that out.
But no, we'll see. And if not, we have some pretty good candidates for future that we'll keep in touch. But that's what we'll have in January, most likely. One of those items, and as well as appointing the chair and vice chair.
Okay,
Before you adjourn, I do have.
Yeah,
Mayor-
please.
Oh, well, sorry, taking over.
No,
Give it,
go ahead.
take it the chair's prerogative, but we did have Mr. Wetton is here because there is some very sad news we had for someone that I think Commissioner or Chair Martos was aware of.
Yeah.
Pat Jorney, a longtime Burlingame resident and BPAC member on here, passed away recently. And
Yeah.
Mr. Wetton does have some words he'd like to say.
Through the chair, if it's
Yeah,
okay, and
please.
tagging in, there's no matter of public controversy here, so I think we're okay.
Yeah.
You remember Pat?
I do.
remember Pat. Andy and Stephanie, I'm sure remember Pat. The new commissioners didn't, but even I think before we had video here in Lee, we had a yellow vest presence in our chamber every ESPC meeting as well as other public meetings. She was a very colorful personality. She got everywhere by bicycle well into her elder years. She's was incredibly knowledgeable of everything that was going on in Burlingame. She was like an AI before we very opinionated, but worth spending time with and listening to, and added a lot to the work here. And it is, sounds like you already heard the sad news that she passed away earlier this week. She had previously had a stroke that took her out of her house a few years ago and took her out of these meetings. But she was in a home since then, and was visited by our former mayor, Kathy Baylock, by Jennifer Pfaff, our planning commissioner. And I just wanted to say I was really sorry to hear that news. And she added a lot to what happened here. That all.
Yeah, yeah, I saw it on Mayor Baylock's Facebook page, and showed her. Pat looked actually really pretty good in the hospital bed, and Mayor Baylock had a old puppy that she held next to her and big smiles, and it was a nice picture. But I often wondered what happened to Pat Jorney, because when I started 12 years ago, she was like Commissioner Wetton said, she was here every month. Every month she'd be here. She'd bring us information. She always wore her yellow vest, parked her bike right outside there, and was really very helpful. She brought us a lot of good information that we could digest and consider. And
She'd have
And
counts.
she-
She goes, I was out there, here are the counts.
yeah, yeah, she did that. Or that's right. She did do traffic counts for us. So yeah, I was very sad to hear that, but thanks for bringing that to our attention. So I would actually like to spend maybe 30 seconds and just moment of silence before we adjourn. So we'll do that now, please. All right, well, Commission, thank you very much. Everyone in attendance, Commissioner Wetton, thank you for being here, and I will call this meeting adjourned.
Oh, you guys.
Oh, no problem.
All pretty straightforward stuff, wasn't it?